Hi guys, it's Brian and we're into July 2009. 2009 has turned out to be a very interesting year indeed, and I want to return to some of the issues that we've been talking about over the last few years, and we're looking at the global financial situation. And I thought I'd draw your attention to one of the articles in one of the better newspapers of the world, the Guardian Weekly, and we turn to the finance page and we just have a quick look at the headline there. And just reading from the article written by two rather well-informed journalists: toxic assets threaten recovery. Taxpayers around the world still face potentially large losses because governments have failed to act quickly enough to remove toxic assets from the balance sheets of key banks, the world's leading central bankers warned on Monday. Despite months of coordinated global action to stabilise the banking system, hidden perils lurk in the world's financial institutions, according to the Basel-based Bank of International Settlements. Overall, governments may not have acted quickly enough to remove problem assets from the balance sheets of key banks, BIS says in its annual report. At the same time, government guarantees and asset insurance have exposed taxpayers to potentially large losses. Now, interesting how the Bank of International Settlements has had the spotlight on it a little more recently, a bank which many people have never heard of. A bank with a very interesting history, starting way back in the time of the Third Reich, founded by a collection of interesting people, one of them being the Minister of Finance of the Third Reich, who was a key player in the founding of the Bank of International Settlements, a clearinghouse for the reserve banks of the world, and without a doubt it is the most powerful banking institution today. And what is it doing? It's warning that we have still unresolved issues in the financial crisis. And of course the derivatives market is, if you like, casts a big black shadow over the global financial institutions. And just looking at the markets today, I see that the worst week for global markets since 1929 is the first reference as I check through Google. And we're just doing some comparisons between what was going on in the 1929 crash, which the markets tended to move up and down between 1929 and 1933. And the economy just completely unraveled, the global economy completely unraveled, as essentially, it's doing the same, it's following the same course again, and the unemployment figures are rising. So we wake up to the morning news, and the commentators talk about green shoots, yet Warren Buffett, who's recently had the cataracts removed from his eyes, said that once that operation was performed, he was hoping that he would see some green shoots. But alas, Mr. Buffett, with his new eyes, sees no green shoots. With his cataracts removed, he sees no green shoots. So what we're back again to is the reality of the situation in a world where institutions and corporations and businesses and individuals face the very, very cold light of day, whereby if they have borrowed excessively, they find that repaying the borrowings is one thing, but unfortunately the real difficulty comes when they have to find the interest on the borrowings. And I note that there's a rather amusing, ironical article in the Prospect, and they talk about the crisis in terms of how people have to deal with this. And one of the banks had sponsored a play, and at the end there's a very interesting line, and it talks about the splendid line in which one of the characters, who has borrowed a large sum out of necessity, bemoans the difficulty of repaying it. Apparently, it's not the principal amount which is difficult, it's the unexpected need to pay interest as well. And I guess, that's the issue that we've been focusing on and emphasising over the last few years, is that eventually when one has to repay these loans, there's the interest on top of the principal, and of course there's the difficulty of not living within one's means. And of course corporations and businesses and individuals have all fallen into that trap. But it's a pretty old principle, and I can remember my great-grandfather, who lived for 100 years and had experienced the 1880 depression, which according to him was far worse than the depression of 1933, because in his mind there were scarcity of resources in 1880, and great difficulties in just surviving from one week to the next, very much hand-to-mouth existence, which he was able to endure as a consequence of being a freehold farmer. But a lot of farms, of course, were foreclosed on, and businesses, and the unemployment rates were horrendous. One of the things that he used to say to me was, as he homilised, and he did it many, many times, and I remember this particularly in his 90s, one of his favourite sayings was that willful waste brings woeful want. And so the homilies would continue, waste not, want not, and he talked about the difficulties of global depression. And this is a person who had experienced war and depression, and I guess at the end of his life he certainly had a large bank account of accumulated wisdom which he was able to draw on. And I sort of consider myself to be greatly honoured to have known a man who was born in 1862 and died in 1962, and saw the rise of the modern banking system. Globalisation was already well underway, and he passed on some enduring values and principles that really do stand the test of time. And I guess one of those foundation principles is that one must learn to live within one's means. It's as simple as that. So there's going to be more economic desolation, and the wells of disappointment where the woman kneeled to pray, in Leonard Cohen's words, for the grace of God in the desert here and the desert far away,